If this is your first time tuning in, don't worry, each week's lesson stands alone, and if you're registered, you'll have access to the entire 12-week rolling series. We're very excited about the speaker we have tonight. Mr. Arlie Larson has been with Primerica for the past 32 years. Arlie and his spouse Fern live in Calgary, Alberta. Arlie and his team actually created the concept of the FIN number, the financial independence number, and because of helping thousands of families save and invest for their golden years, Arlie and his team have invested $3.6 billion for families in the USA and in Canada. Arlie is licensed for securities in several states and most provinces in Canada. Please help me in welcoming the great Arlie Larson.
Thank you. We'll take another run at that. We are honored and excited to be part of this client webinar series. I guess never dreamed of, having a webinar where there would be several thousand people that would be interested in registering and learning how to become financially independent. I want to give you a very quick intro. 32 years ago, a good friend of mine from Ontario, Doug Jackson, came along and he sat me down and he said, you have to listen to this company and this concept. And he showed me the concept of the financial independence number. And because of that, we have become financially independent and helped thousands of people get on track and become financially independent. One of those, Doug Jackson. It's absolutely amazing what's happened over the years. And so all I can say is, hey, we're honored and we're excited to share. And so I'm going to start talking a little bit about a review. And if we go back and we just start to review a little bit about what we've already covered in this series, this is a 12-week series, as Kristen has already told you, and we're going to be able to kind of bring you up to speed and then go forward. And hopefully you'll see, like we see this, that this is absolutely the most exciting thing we've ever done for 32 years. Because when we started out, we didn't have a budget, we didn't have an emergency fund, and we've covered that the last 2 weeks. And so let's just talk for a minute about the budget. There's 7 areas that you can free up money. Pay yourself first, adjust your lifestyle, which is big right now. People are sitting at home and they're starting to realize, hey, this is really what I need, this is what I don't need, and they're getting all kinds of values sorted out in their lives. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, we never would have thought this would be a great time, but this is really a pretty great time, other than the fact there are a lot of people who've lost their jobs. Establish a cash flow plan. It's a great time now to establish that. Adjust your priorities and say, here's what we really need, here's what we don't need. Earn extra income. It's a good chance right now to decide that, hey, you need extra income. And there's a lot of opportunities. We're going to talk about one later on tonight. If you join us later on at 7 o'clock, we're going to talk about a little bit of opportunity to earn extra income from home. Realign your assets and sell something, and avoid the credit trap. I mean, these are the things that can help you with a budget. So to get started, you need to have actually something written down. You got to go, hey, it's time we actually did our homework, which is very unusual. We all hate it. The hated job of sitting down and trying to put together this very simple budget sheet, which once you've signed up now, you have access to this and you'll be able to pick it up and you can fill it out. It is not a hard exercise. Matter of fact, it's so exciting sometimes when you realize that if with a few adjustments, you could free up a lot of cash. So that's pretty exciting. The accounts that you need to open are real simple. You need an emergency fund, saving money in a money market. You need to be able to have a 3 months, 6 months of income so that if this ever happens to you again, God forbid, you don't have to worry, you're set. And a lot of our clients are set. They're not calling us, they're not panicking. This is just an unusual time, but you know what? It's a great time for everybody to realize that, hey, the second account you need is a draft account, a checking account, one that you actually pay your bills from. And then the third one is a personal weekly spending account. It's you dine out with this account. You start going and looking around, say, hey, I can't afford to buy that clothing item I wanted or to take that little trip I wanted because it's part of my personal spending account. And then you'll never be caught again without the discipline of having your emergency fund. So now we talk basically about the benefits of an emergency fund, keep you from borrowing and going deeper in debt. Who wants to go deeper in debt? Credit cards love to get you in there. And then guess what? You can't get out. And you sit there and you go, oh my goodness, I can't get out of debt now. I'm paying 18%. Well, just calculate sometime what 18% on a credit card does for you. And the bank's going to make $1 million and make you $1 million poorer over a lifetime. So work those numbers out, provide security and reduce any worry, allows you to cut insurance costs, raising deductibles. If you've got car insurance, raise the deductible will allow you to drop the cost of that insurance. It is part of the foundation of a financial house is to have a good emergency fund. So now we get a chance to talk about my favorite subject, which is really how to determine your PIN number. And again, this happened when Doug Jackson, my good buddy, came to my house 32 years ago, and he said, Arlie, you need to know what you need to do so that you don't have to go through this again. I was 38 years old. I had been running an implement business for 18 years, and we had just gone broke and lost everything, and we're starting over. I had absolutely no interest in going into another business or getting involved until he showed me how I was already spending enough money to be financially independent. He set my PIN number. So when you're out there, would you like to know what your PIN number is? A lot of people just don't realize that you've got to have a PIN number. And the reason you got to have a PIN number, it's a financial independence number. It's the amount of money you need to accumulate so that someday you can live off that money for the rest of your life and never have to go back to work. I mean, that's a pretty quaint idea, to never have to go back to work. So all I can say is, hey, if you wanted to retire in 30 years, let's say you're 35 years old now, and you said, hey, at 65, I want to retire. You want to retire in 30 years with $100,000 a year income today. Let's say, the spouse makes 50, the husband makes 50. And so you got 100,000 coming in, and you're planning to be able to live that way the rest of your life. 30 years from now, at age 65, with a 3% inflation, you need 243,000 coming in to spend like 100. And that makes sense, because when I started, 50 years ago, I started working. I was making $565 a month, and we actually got married, paid for a house, and bought furniture, and drove cars, and did all of that on $565 a month. A lot of you sitting out there go like, oh, you got to be kidding. Hey, 50 years ago, that's exactly what it was like. Go ahead, 30, and you're going to see the same thing. So what is a PIN number? Your PIN number, if you want to have this, and you don't have to, is 2.6 million. That's 1.3 million each. And that will bring you in enough money to retire financially independent. You say, yeah, but I don't think I'll need that much. The house is paid for and all this stuff. You know what? You get there, if you each save $700 a month, $1,400 for 30 years at 9%, you'd have to take 2.6. Okay, you don't need that. Cut it in half, 700. Cut it in a quarter, 350. But do something, because you're going to get there. We started in this business at 38. I'm 70. In another month and a half, I'll be 71 years old. And I never thought that could happen, but it happened like a flicker. And so all I can say to you is, hey, when you're out there today, you start thinking early, you start doing something early, you're never going to be disappointed. So let's find out what your PIN number needs to be. If you were making $8,000 a month, $96,000 a year, and you wanted on the left-hand side of this graph, 80% of that, you'd need $6,400 to retire on. Your income goal in the future would, with inflation, be $16,500. If you take that forward, how much you've got to save and what your PIN number is, 2.8 million. This ain't a big hard equation. It's just nobody can do it, because nobody wants to do it, because there's nobody interested in doing it, because later on I'm going to show you why they will steal your future. Your finance company, your bank, your insurance company will steal your future, and we can put it to you in writing. It's mathematics, it's arithmetic. You just have to do the numbers, and you'll see that happen. So here you go, at age 67, if you started today and you take the bottom line, the middle column at age 67, you need 2.8. You need to save at 8% before and 4% after, you need to save $1,298 a month. People can do that if we can go and sit down with them and help you find the money. So the seeds you sow today will be your harvest tomorrow. A lot of farmers out in this part of the world, and I think around the North American continent, you realize that if you don't sow a crop, you're not going to get a harvest. And you can't judge your crop when you sow the seeds, but you have to have the faith to go out there when the dirt is dry, there is no rain, it looks like a disaster, the wind's blowing, you can hardly see the end of the field, and you're planting really good seed and fertilizer into a ground at $100 an acre, whatever it is. Nowadays, it's probably $200 or $300 an acre. You're putting thousands of dollars into the ground, and then you're just waiting for the rain. You're just hoping it happens, and then all of a sudden it does, and you get this bountiful harvest. And that's why farmers love farming. Even though some years are a disaster, they keep on farming. They figure out how to make it through, and the next year is going to be the big one, and they farm year after year. Same thing here. You take a look at theory of decreasing responsibility. I'm going to run you through this pretty quickly tonight. Normally, we would sit for an hour and a half to 2 hours to do this presentation. We got about 45 minutes, and you're going to hear from some of our panelists a little quick experience as to why everybody needs to sit down and get their F&A done, their financial needs analysis. In the early years, you may need a lot of coverage, a lot of insurance coverage, buy term insurance, no problem. You don't have a lot of money to invest. And so you sit down with somebody that's 30, normally, what do they have? They have young children, they have high debts, mortgages, and they're at a loss of income just destroys the family. And then they go to GoFundMe and other things to try and get a funeral paid for and to live. And it's a disaster because nobody showed them what they needed, because everybody just about without fail can afford to do the right kind of thing. So let's talk about the last part of the life. So if you get a plan set at age 30, by the time you're 65, you better have money. You don't have to worry about somebody coming along and saying, hey, you need so much life insurance. You basically just need to know that you saved enough and you can now live the rest of your life in dignity. So at retirement, your kids are growing. You don't need to worry about that. Your debts are lower. Your mortgage is paid. And all you need to worry about is how much a month can you send me? And we get in this conversation every single day. Today I had a client call. He said, if I had $2 million, which I'm thinking of selling my properties, how long could I live off it? And would I be able to live off it for the rest of my life and leave something to my kids? Hey, that's a pretty easy answer. And we love to do that. So what we do is we say, well, if your FIN number up here was your 1.2 to 2 million, whatever your number is, that's your number. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about inflation first. If you don't understand inflation, you can't really understand anything about anything, because inflation's like cancer. It only gets you in stages, and it gets you very, very subtly. And you think ahead 3 years, you think back 3 years. But I can remember getting a paycheck for $565, which now $5,000 would not match it. And so you go, hey, that's inflation. So at age 30, if you were making $40,000 a year, $3,333 a month, guess what? At age 65, if you had a 2.5% inflation at age 65, you would be $94,928. That's 35 years later, 2.5% inflation. And then at age 65, everybody thinks, oh, well, we got it made. But oh, no, the inflation doesn't go away. It just gets worse. And so what you end up having is you have a situation on your hands now where you need $155,000. And that's the kind of stuff that all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness, $12,000 a month versus $3,300 a month. And that's just from where you are at age 30 till 85. So how do we fix that problem? Well, it's not hard to fix it. You just got to understand it. Once you understand it, nobody can take it away from you. And this is where your bank, your insurance company doesn't want you to know this stuff, because they don't want you to have a financial independence number, and they don't really care, because at the end of the day, it's all about trust me, and I'm going to take care of you. You don't have to worry. But then you wake up when you hit retirement, you go, wow, if I'd have read some books, if I'd have got some education, I would have had my FIN number, and I would have had what I needed to live the rest of my life. So let's talk a little bit about that for a few minutes, and let's go back here and say, how do we set our FIN number? Well, we know what we're going to need. So we've got a $40,000 income, and we're at 2.5% inflation. We're going to need $7,910 at retirement age 65, $94,000 a year. And we're going to need that money to be able to go up to 155 age 85. What's my FIN number? And when you look at that, you go, okay, what's my FIN number? Well, at a 7% return, which we put on this money, if you get a 7% during your retirement, you need to have 1.2 million in your financial independence number. That's the money you need to be sitting on, that you will never, ever run out of money the rest of your life if it grows at 7%. And I'll show you some of the second phase. A lot of you on this call, this is redundant. You've seen it. We set your FIN number years ago. 32 years we've been setting FIN numbers, giving you fridge magnets with solutions, and you've gone out there and you've done a fabulous job. So congratulations. And yet there's a lot of people that haven't even got started, and they're saying, oh my goodness. So let's go and talk a little bit right now about the withdrawal period and ultimately how you build wealth. And what you need to build wealth and financial independence, you need three things. You need time, money, and a rate of return. If you have a lot of time, you don't need much money, and you really need a small rate of return. If you have a shortage of time, then it's a different story. You need a lot of money, and you need a lot of rate of return, a high rate of return. And that's the facts of life. That's not something you put together and you. So take a number, 40 years, a little bit of money, rate of return, small rate of return, you're going to get a lot. You'll be able to retire on it. You wait too long, you need a lot more money and a high rate of return. So let's talk about accumulating your FIN number of 1.2 million. How does it happen? Well, if it wasn't possible, we would not show you this, but it is possible. So let's say that I met you, I came to your house, sat at your kitchen table, or you did a Zoom call with me, and you said, I've got $10,000 saved for my retirement. And I want to know, is that enough? Am I going to be okay if I don't touch it? And so we take a look, 10,000, we run it forward. You run it for 35 years forward, you've got $28,000 in your account at the end. That's not 1.2 million. You can't retire. Hey, at 6%, you go up by 3%, it becomes 76,000. You go like, oh, that's interesting. What is it at 9%? Oh, it's 204,000. That's the magic of compound interest. And that's what happens when you all of a sudden wake up one day and go, hey, rate of return does matter and time matters. And so we need to do the smart stuff and we need to start early. But we're not financially independent. We got 204,000. We need 1.2 million. Hey, we're not financially independent. So what would I have to do at 3%? I leave my money at the credit union or the bank or an insurance policy, and I make 3%. It's very safe. I just have to save $1,669 a month. The fact of the matter is, most people making 40,000 can't save $1,669. So what do I, at 6%, I need $869 a month. And I would challenge you to run your own numbers. These are just numbers. You got to get a future value calculator and you can work this stuff out, or get a help from one of our agents who will do it for you. And this is absolutely amazing because with $400 a month, this particular family could accumulate 1.2 million. And then we can talk about the taxes. We're from Canada, but we are licensed in all of North America. So we know the tax laws in the United States, the tax laws in Canada. Ultimately, this stuff works the same on both sides of the border. You don't have to worry. The mutual funds in the United States, the mutual funds in Canada, they'll return just about the same. And you just pick a good company and stick with it. Most times it's a behavioral issue. If you don't make it, it's because you changed your behavior. And so that's our job, is to help you with your behavior, to keep doing it. So let's talk about our spending phase. We finally reached age 65. They say if you reach age 65, you might live to 85. So let's take a look at what we got to have saved. We need 1.2 million. So let's say, okay, we're going to start spending at age 65, $94,928 a month out of our money. Well, if we start to do that, guess what? At a 9% rate of return, that 1.2 million, even after drawing it out with an inflationary increase, will be left in 20 years, 1.8 million to leave to your kids. Wonderful if you can get 9%. Well, maybe you say, but I'm not going to try for 9. I'm going to try for 7. So if you got 7% on your 1.2 million, in 20 years, you would still have 757,000 to give to your kids. Okay, but you say, but no, I'm going to take it over and put it in a guaranteed investment certificate at the bank. And so how would you fare then if you decided at this point you couldn't stand any volatility and you were going to go back? You would still have, with a 5%, you would still have in 20 years, 64,808. And you'd be 85 years old and you would have lived pretty good. And your kids could learn the principles and they'd still be fine. If you teach your kids the gift of how this stuff works and you get them on this educational seminar, they will never be short of money. They will never, ever have to worry about finances, and they will teach this to the next generation. This should be taught in school every single day. So what you need to do is you need to say to yourself, hey, let's ask our rep for a complimentary financial needs analysis. And I went through that pretty quick. And yes, for a reason, because we got some other folks we want to bring on here that you need to hear from, because 32 years ago, you know, we had young children. Today, we got 46-year-old married kids. All of our family, 2 sons and a son-in-law, work with us, and all of our family has lived off Primerica for the last 32 years. Nobody's had outside income. Nobody's done anything else once they got through their training than Primerica, and they're scattered around the country, and I want you to hear from them. I also want you to hear from another friend of mine, Reed Anderson, here in town, that's been with us about 10 years and is starting to really rock it. And I want you to know that, hey, you don't have to be here 30 years for this to work. You can get this working in the first year, the second year, but you got to get a plan that is personalized to you. So you got to ask your rep for a complimentary financial needs analysis where they'll sit down, they'll take your entire house, they'll put it together, and they'll come up with a plan for you. It doesn't have to be my plan, it's your plan, very individualized, no two plans are the same. They'll help you calculate your net worth or your negative net worth, whatever it is, and they'll help you get out of debt. They'll set your FIN number, and when they get a debt elimination plan put in place, guess what? You are going to be debt-free and financially independent. They'll calculate your insurance needs, and more than that, they'll become a lifetime trusted helper in your family's business of financial freedom. And so, you know, we just have no end of people in this company we could point you to, and we will give it to you in writing. We will give it to you with legal disclaimers, and we will make sure that every single year that you want to, we'll follow up and we'll update your plan. Your plan is like your financial needs analysis is like a flight plan for an airplane. You take off today and you continue across the country. You don't go to sleep. You wake up and you check your points every once in a while and find out, yes, I'm going to Toronto. I'm over Winnipeg. I'm over to St. Marie. Or yes, I'm going to Florida. I'm over Des Moines, Iowa. And I know my next stop is Miami. I know I'm on course. Everything's working. Same thing financially. You have to have those kinds of checkpoints. And so I want to open it up to some of our panelists. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to introduce to you first our first panelist, which is my oldest son, Eldon. Eldon joined the business 20 years ago, and he is absolutely my go-to guy, because you know I can't do this stuff. You know the technology at 70 is hard, but we're learning it, and I'm always bugging Eldon every single day. Eldon, there's a client down in California, need to do some transfers. There's a client over in Tennessee. There's a client somewhere else, and Eldon just jumps on, click, 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 and it's done. And it's just absolutely stunning, which has made this a North America-wide business. And we got some of the brightest, most talented young people coming up behind us that will take this on and take care of the clients we have today. So it's absolutely stunning. Eldon, share with us this afternoon. I guess it's afternoon in Seattle, and it's evening in the East Coast. So some people you'll have to wake up, and others you'll have to start, letting them go to dinner.
Well, hey, super proud to be a part of this show, and you know what, we've had some incredible leadership side. You know, one thing that we've always championed was that we always were a client before we were an agent in this business. And so, you know, a lot of times people think, well, you know, there's just the agent side and there's the client side. No, it's actually combined. And you know, a lot of times we're pretty independent people, and we like to make our own choices. And we don't like to ever have somebody tell us what to do. But we all like a friend, and we all need a coach. And I think that that's one of the values of this business. If you can realize that somebody's going to come to your kitchen table, or, you know, even across a Zoom call, and they're going to sit down and have a visit with you, that they're coming heart to heart with you, not head to head. This business isn't about delivering a bunch of products or trying to force things down people's throats or sell them something. What it is an educational process. I remember the time when Dad sat down at my kitchen table when, you know, I was 21 years old, newly married, and he said, hey, we've got to complete your financial needs analysis. At 21, that's the last thing that you absolutely want in life, is a financial needs analysis. You want a new car, there's motorbikes, there's all kinds of things you want. And so anyways, he did dictate about saying, hey, you got to have your priorities right. You got to look after your family. So yes, we did start putting some money away monthly. We did put our life insurance in place. We did start our game plan, and not realizing that those disciplines in life, when disaster struck, when at 38 years old, I lost a spouse to cancer, and those disciplines as a client, everything was in place, everything was looked after. And we watched this happen to our own clients And a lot of times our own pride gets in the way because we're worried about how others see us, or we're worried about other people's opinions. What if you could put those things aside for a little bit and understand that, you know, if I could find somebody that I could trust and I could have a game plan that I knew was rock solid and I would never have to look over my shoulder, and in good times or bad, this thing is going to stand up and deliver. There's nothing has delivered like our company has delivered for our clients. And so one of the things we had learned very early on is that a calculator doesn't lie. And so when you can make numbers in a picture form and show people a picture where it draws them forward, you know, most people don't have a belief level that they're going to get to $1 million or 2 million or 3 million. But you know what? A little bit put away and the principles, it is amazing. We're watching clients every day that have reached their financial independence. And we're watching clients that in every situation, they're looked after. And this is a company that I'm proud to stand behind. And every one of our clients, maybe it's a long time ago since they've done their financial needs analysis. Hey, we can jump on a Zoom call just the same as across a kitchen table, and we can redo those numbers and do that game plan, do that financial needs analysis, and make sure that things are on track for them. So anyways, I love this business and what it delivers.
Thank you, Eldon. It's absolutely great to hear your story. Tell us a little bit about what it was like when you were an aircraft mechanic making minimum wage, and you're working for Canadian Pacific. It became Air Canada, and you got so excited that you were doing these fin numbers for people on the hangar floor.
Well, I was in a very prestigious position. I was on line maintenance with the airlines, and I had worked up in the Arctic, and I was an aircraft maintenance engineer up there. And so it sounds glorious, but ended up working for the airlines. And when you're on line maintenance, that means that you work all night doing anything that it takes to get an airplane flying for the morning. And, you know, you spend 7 nights in a row with people and a lot of hours, and people are tired and grumpy, and they have no hope. They've lost their hope and nothing's working for them. But you get to know these people very well. And one of the things I had carried in my pocket was a calculator, and we did a financial independence number for people with a piece of chalk on the hangar floor. And people would come to me with questions and say, what would happen if I did this and this and this with my mortgage? What happens with investments when we do this? Or my parents are retired, but they're only making 2 or 3%. What would happen if they could get 5 or 6? How long would their money last? Most people can't answer those questions, but I was able to sit and draw on the hangar floor with a piece of chalk and run the calculator, and people were amazed at what we were able to show. And it was no surprise to them at some point that one day I said, hey, I'm done. And you know, a few people are pretty skeptical, and they said, you'll be back. And I said, no, the future's a lot brighter. And never darkened that doorway again.
How many years ago was that?
Well, I don't want to start counting how many years ago it was, but I was 25 years old when I left the airline business. I was making $29,000 a year in the airline business to sign my life away on the dotted line. I had 7 different specialized licenses to be able to sign my name to that aircraft and sign it out, where other people's lives were in your hands and you're responsible. And so for $29,000 a year, that's not the way that I wanted to live, and that's not what I call freedom.
Isn't that amazing? You know, we talked a little bit about the seed you sow today will be the harvest tomorrow. I had a call from one of those clients you did a fin number for on the hangar floor, and she said it's time for a review. We've been saving money ever since. We're on track, but we're really worried, and it's time for an update. I know Eldon's not around, but would you sit down with us? And that was just when a storm hit, and they couldn't make it to my office, and then we got the coronavirus, and so they haven't made it in, but they're coming to review. and you got that seed sown 20 some years ago on the hangar floor, it doesn't matter where you do it, you just got to do it. And then people never forget it. They will never forget a FIN number for sure. Thank you for sharing, Eldon, and really appreciate that. So gonna go over to Vancouver. Eldon was out of Seattle. He runs an office, and he and his wife is a nurse and going through lots of heavy work right now with the COVID-19. So we think of her every day and hope she can stay safe. But then we go on up to Brent. Brent's in Vancouver, runs an office in Vancouver. And Brent's our second son, married to Veronica, who also is in the healthcare business, a speech path. And Brent is there in Vancouver running the office and just doing an incredible job helping clients every single day. Brent, talk to us.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity here. I'll just take a couple minutes. It's exciting to see so many clients make the commitment to get on here, and they're either going to learn some more, or they're at the very least going to be reminded of the principles and techniques that it takes to become financially independent. So, I was thinking of two things recently that we remind our clients a lot about, and that's discipline and patience. And most of us aren't born with a lot of that, but it's required to hit our FIN number, right? So, and every day we get bombarded with information. We can't open our phone or look at the television or radio, if people listen to that anymore, without being bombarded with information and trying to decipher what's important, what's not. That's our job, is to kind of keep our clients focused on the fundamentals, the products that work and the principles that are time tested. So, one thing I can assure all of our clients is we put our money where our mouth is. We do exactly what we teach our clients to do. We know what our FIN number is. We own the same investments. And for those of us with families and responsibilities, we have our wills done, and we carry the right amount of primary term life insurance to protect our family in case we pass away. So, it's just, it's an honor to serve our clients, and I'm looking forward to every single one of them reaching their FIN number. So I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Brent. It's absolutely amazing. And, when you think about it, Brent was in his teenage years when we got into this business. So was Eldon. And they went to college. And Brent, I have to tell you a little story about Brent. He went to college because he said, Dad, I don't think anybody listened to me as a financial advisor or coach. So he said, I'm going to go to college, and I think I'll probably take a business degree. And so he went to college and he got his business degree. And then he called me one day and he said, Dad, I think I'm going to go into the submarine business. I'm going to buy a sub shop, and we're going to make submarine sandwiches. And I said, well, what are you telling me for? Because I'm not going into that business. He said, no, I just want to borrow some money. I said, oh, I don't loan money to people to go in and make salami sandwiches when they're 50 years old. And so here's Brent. He's living in an unbelievable place in Vancouver. And, he's raising those two children, Bianca and Dominic, and has an unbelievable life, because he finally said, on second thought, I guess I'll just join Primerica. And I said, no, you don't have to join Primerica. I'm not going to loan you money to go into the salami sandwich business. And so it turns out that 20 years later, here's Brent, absolutely stunning, makes a couple $100,000 a year in the business and helps clients every single day. I have never had one person come to me and complain about Eldon or Brent and the kind of work they do. And I tell you what, if you can do that in this business, in a family business where they all go and they all make their own way and they all end up enjoying benefits, but everybody's responsible. If they don't get up every day and help a family, guess what? Fern is on the call here. I don't know, she hasn't agreed yet to unmute herself and talk a little bit, but my partner is the greatest partner on the planet, because she's the one that said, Arlie, you have to do this. And then every time I went to quit, she'd say, Arlie, suck it up, put on your big boy pants and get back out there. And so today, it's just absolutely thrilling to see people hit their financial independence number. Our son-in-law's on the call, and his name is Anton Garth Miles. He goes by Garth, sometimes he goes by Anton. But I know one thing for sure is that if you happen to listen to him on the telephone or you're working with him, he's Mr. Perfectionist personified. If you get him to do a FIN number, it's exact. And if you want to have somebody that's going to take care of you, you can count on him all the way. Our daughter and Garth have 5 boys, and you know what it's like in this time to try and raise 5 boys who aren't going to school, getting educated at home. That is incredible. So, so Garth, share a little bit of your experience and help us understand why you joined the business from a background in business already, working in the manufacturing business, owned his own business, sold it, and came into this business right after they got married, and has been full-time ever since. So I'll turn it over to you, Garth. Hello, Garth.
Hey, thanks, Arlie. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you loud and clear, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot. You move, I think you move at the speed of light, because I don't even know your background there. You must have bought a new house or something since I talked to you last this morning. But no, it's pretty fun to be on these calls, and I just appreciate the time. I won't take up much time either, but just a little bit of background. You know, we're so blessed and lucky to know what it takes. And you know, the sad thing is when you go out and you meet with people from all walks of life the way we do, you quickly realize that it's not that people don't work hard, and it's not that they don't have the greatest intentions, but they often just don't get the information they need, and they don't have a coach that they can trust and work with. And it's funny, I spent almost 2 hours on the phone with a client today that was upset because the markets were doing what the markets do. And it was amazing how, when you break it down and you look at the investment markets that we have today, they're actually the most logical thing out there. There's a lot of things that we're dealing with today that are illogical, but the stock market is not one of them. The stock market is totally logical. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It will always do what it's supposed to do. And the real question is are you, or am I, prepared to do what it takes to get wealthy? And thanks to things like the financial needs analysis, which we have now, and the tools that we have like Zoom and Sales Team Pro and all these things, we have no excuses, and we're so blessed. So yeah, I come from a background of finance. I studied finance in university and went to go get a job, but that didn't work out. So I started a business, and that was fine. But at the end of the day, it was basically being self-employed. And if I took a day off, I didn't get paid. So ultimately, I could see the value of Primerica and the value of what we do. And it's really quite amazing to watch a business grow like we have for 20 years. And every single year we've spent, I would argue, we've spent doing pretty much the same thing. It's not flashy, it's not fancy. Sometimes when you're getting into your truck in the middle of the winter and you're heading out to an appointment, you wonder about what you're doing. But I'll tell you what, the minute you cross through that door and you meet with some new people and you give them some hope for their future, it sure makes you feel good. And you know, it's amazing to see this work. Like the needs analysis that you showed there, Arlie. You know, you have to fall in love with that thing, and you have to put that in front of everybody's face, because it's a roadmap. And if you don't have a roadmap, you can't get anywhere. If you don't have a GPS nowadays or a cell phone, you can hardly find the local gas station. And so, you know, really what we do is just an extension of that. But it is with finance and with numbers, and sometimes it looks a little intimidating. And I was just loving the questions that that are popping up here, and they're all good questions for those of you that are writing them. And you know, all I can say is, hey, you know what? You just got to get better, and you got to learn, and you got to develop yourself to the point where you can be a coach like Arlie and like Brent and like Eldon, and you can go out there and do what we love to do every day. So, you know, it'd be great. It would be great if every person in North America knew their PIN number, and every person in North America saved money every month. We know that's not going to happen. We know that we have a very small market share. We know that the opportunity is huge. So, you know, just excited to be part of this thing and excited to see where the next 30 years takes us. So I'll pass her back to you, Arlie. Thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you, Garth. That is absolutely amazing. And you did such an awesome job. I know that, when our people sit down and set a FIN number, it's not like, oh, this is an option. This is it. I mean, this is it. I wish we could get through to people that the truth is the truth is the truth is the truth. And I'm going to tell a story at the end about what happened to us by two friends. I have two friends, and I'm going to tell you a story from each of them. And right now, I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Reed Anderson. Reed Anderson comes from Calgary. His partner, Kelly, and Reed have two young boys, absolutely just wonderful young men. And they come to the office. We love having them around. And these guys are just out to help anybody they can. This guy will help me with technology. He'll help me with green screens. He'll help me with anything. So Reed, I know you've set a lot of FIN numbers. I know you've got a lot of experience with setting FIN numbers, and everybody needs a FIN number. Talk to us a little bit about your experience. So I'll turn it over to you, Reed Anderson.
Hey, thank you, man. Yeah, there's a ton of questions around the FIN number, and Arlie, I think the last couple of client financial webinars have been different topics. This is a tough one to cover for you in a short amount of time. So what I would recommend to people asking questions right now is that you get with the person that invited you to this call and sit down with them and have them help you run through it, because really it's tough for us to show it in short order, and it's tough for us to show it with your numbers. So that's what I would recommend for sure. It's not a simple concept with respect to just understanding it. It's a little bit abstract, but as soon as you see it written down, it makes a ton of sense. So the importance of understanding what your FIN number is, and I think that one of the things that we're seeing right now, especially in the market, with the large preponderance of people out there, is it has to do with the fact that they weren't really running a 3-account system before this thing started happening, this COVID thing, and so what we're seeing is a ton of liquidity disappearing for most people. And so the importance of, I think, next steps when you're heading forward through kind of the back end of this thing is getting to sit down with somebody to be able to understand, yes, what your FIN number is, but understand what the 3-account system is too. And that's been talked about previously. It's been talked, and I mean, we cover a lot of that inside of the financial needs analysis that we do. Having a short-term emergency account with at least 3 months savings in there. And I understand that sometimes you don't have enough to put 3 months away, but you start small and you work your way through that. So just putting the right things in place and having those 3 accounts kind of running, that's what's going to save you in times like this. So don't despair if you didn't capture or be able, if you weren't able to digest all of what Arlie covered on the FIN number, because obviously it's a little bit more complex than he can cover in 15 minutes. But I think that by and large, most people have a hard time really understanding intuitively, what compound interest can do for them or what it can do kind of against them. What inflation is going to do to their savings. Are you making allowance for 30 years worth of inflation working on what your retirement income is going to be? So it's incredibly critical that you sit down with a financial professional. I would recommend, getting after that now before this virus thing is over and life gets back to normal and we get back to our busy selves again. I would recommend sitting down with whoever it is that invited you to this call and just having them explain things, having them go through, because I think that really the people that I see that are not in trouble right now are the folks that have had an advisor. And it's unfortunate, and it sounds like a plug for ourselves, but really that's just the case. I mean, we base everything that we do on education. We spend a ton of time going through people's FIN number and running through the F&A at the outset of what we do, just so that they can feel comfortable, that they can understand it. And when the markets start doing what they're doing right now, they can rest assured that they can be calm about it, because we see this type of thing happen all the time. So that's just part of the education that kind of comes along with understanding your FIN number, understanding your debt freedom date in conjunction with your FIN number. And that's another thing that the F&A is going to show is, and I think that's something that Roy is going to cover on a future call is the debt issue as well. So getting that stuff all under control, it's so huge. The thing that was most compelling to me when I first got exposed to sitting down with an advisor, it was actually somebody that Arlie had hired, and Arlie was my family's financial advisor actually before I ever got into this business. And I couldn't believe, like I was college educated, I couldn't believe how much there was that I didn't really understand. I thought I understood money. There's a ton of stuff and it's basic, but where else are we going to learn this, right? So that's really all I have to say. I just highly recommend anybody sitting in on this call today, just hop in, you know, send an email to the person that invited you, get together with them on Zoom, have them run you through an F&A. It doesn't take a long time. It's, you know, an hour of your time, and you can basically set yourself up to avoid the kind of disaster that a lot of people are suffering from today. Anyway, thanks, Arlie. I appreciate you including me on the call. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Reed. And, you know, it's just super, super wonderful to have young, smart, energetic people that have the great value systems that these people have. And so we're very proud of our children and the fact that they've all mastered this business. We're very proud of the fact that Reed's come in and he's like one of our kids. But we have 2,000 agents spread across the country now, and we are working with them every day to help them understand that people are worried right now. People aren't happy right now. They understand, hey, this could be in a bad situation, and they're worried about their assets. But you know what? Most of our clients have a lot of assets now, and so yes, they could take a little less, but they still have a lot. And yes, they can leave it there because they're not drawing it off, they're not dependent on it, and they're not waiting on a government check. And so when you're out there today setting a FIN number, and I know a lot of questions come up because we covered it fairly quickly, but a FIN number is a FIN number, it's a goal, and your FIN number could be 500,000 if you're getting close to that date. We just used a 30-year-old. We can use a 35, a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old that is on the way down, and we could take whatever you got and make it last as long as you do. What we do is we work with the side of life where you're growing your assets, and then we work with the income side, the golden side. And so at the end of the day, you go, okay, I would like to have a plan. I'm 65 years old. Great. We can put that together for you. Happy to do it. No charge, no obligation to do business. This ain't about selling anything. If you finally realize that, you know what, if I knew as much as the folks on this call are knowing, then guess what? I wouldn't have to worry because I would have my act together. I would have little or no debt. I would have absolutely enough money going away every month that I'd reach my FIN number. And I tell you, I'm going to tell you a couple stories. One is, we got about 5 minutes left. One is a story where one day I was early in the business, and my wife, Fern, who I wish would get on here and talk to you because she's better. She's got the heart, and she's the one who says, hey, you do it. And when I want to quit, she says, put on your big boy pants and go to work. Well, Fern is the heart of our business. And Fern, one day I came home depressed, said, you know, I don't know if I'll ever get this thing going. I was working hard. We were in our 3rd year in Saskatoon. And she said, well, and she got worried that maybe I was going to quit. So she picked up a couple of common sense books, or cards they were, that said you could get a free How Money Works book. They called it Common Sense those days. And she hit the street. She just went out the door with a pack of these, and she went around the street, and she put one in everybody's mailbox. Well, a couple blocks away, they filled out the card and they sent it in. And they said, we'd like to have you come and sit down with us. So we took the book over and they said, come on in, sit down. That couple had a whole life policy of insurance and no savings. And they said, you know what, we got to get something going, man. And they were raising 4 children. You know, to make a long story short, they started as clients of ours. They've been premiered in some of our magazines over the years. They became financially independent. She's a nurse. He is an engineer, and they became financially independent. They educated 3 children, all with a university education, had money left over, and they became completely financially independent, reached their FIN number, are in their mid-60s now, and are enjoying the most incredible retirement you ever could imagine. And that's from dropping a card in a mailbox 30 years ago. Okay, the second thing I'm going to tell you about is my 2 friends. I had 2 friends, and I'm telling you this story because, hey, the number one thing you got to share is your story. I know a lot of you out there have been very, very successful. You've been so successful that you're not interested in learning this stuff because you've already either gotten lucky in business and been smart, or you've already understood how to save enough to retire. And so we're basically so happy for you. It's unbelievable. Because that's what built this business. This is what this business is for, is to see that success. But at the end of the day, you wake up and go, oh, but what about my children? Would they squander this money? So I had two friends. One was a universal life salesman with Transamerica, and one was a buddy who actually was a house builder. Neither one of them, did I know very much about, other than I liked them both, and they used to come and visit me once in a while. My universal life buddy from Transamerica would come about once every year, and I would own a little extra insurance. And I would think, well, that's good. I need it. You know, I was buying $500,000 worth of life insurance, and I was spending $600 a month. You know, I thought nothing of it. Like, that's the way it is. But I was going broke in the implement business. And so I was getting a little hard to pay the bill. My other buddy from Ontario, who's a house builder, comes along and says, you ever heard of this company, Primerica? At that time, it was called ALE. I said, no, I haven't heard of it. And he said, you know, I want to show you. He sat me down, and he got Fern to sit down, and he started talking to us about setting a FIN number and how if we took our universal life policy and we split it up and we invested the difference, that instead of paying $600 a month for $500,000, we could pay $60 a month, and we could take the other $540 and we could invest it in an RSP, in a good mutual fund, and we could have a couple of $1 million when we retire. 38 years later, guess what? We're here, we're 71, we were 38 then, we're 71 coming up next month. And I go, you gotta be kidding. It worked, it worked. And so all I can say is, you know, the universal life salesman, he's still a friend, but not that much of a friend. He's not that happy. And I wrote to his company and I said, how could you possibly have taken my money for 2 years and left me in this position? And the president wrote back and he said, you were respectfully given the information when we sold it to you. So that's the way it worked. So that's our story. And lucky enough for my good buddy, Doug Jackson from Ontario, and we've been close buddies ever since. And all I can say is, Doug, we owe everything to you. If you're on this call, and we see him regularly, he calls me just about every Sunday night, and we have the greatest. But every human being alive today, and I see there's 900 people are on this call, 900 people got on this call tonight. You know, they want to learn, they want to grow. We've got thousands of people out there that want to learn and grow, and everyone wants a FIN number. Everyone wants to get a plan. Everybody says, if I could take the money you're already spending and just tweak it here and tweak it there and put enough away that you could be financially free, would that be a bad thing? No. If I could save you some money on your car insurance and on your life insurance and on your house insurance and on all the other things and get you a will and do all that stuff, and you could actually not spend any more than you're spending now and get you to financial independence, would that excite you? This ain't a get rich quick deal. We've been doing this 32 years, telling the same story for 32 years. Folks, I'm telling you, it's going to transfer because the truth is the truth. And we are telling the truth. We're not an insurance company. We're not a mutual fund company. We are a distribution and education company, and we're telling the truth. So all I can say is, hey, we are going to close this off, and we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to talk to you a little bit about our team. And we're going to talk to you about the opportunity of part-time income from home. We're in the gig economy, guys. And you know what? All I can say to you right now is whatever you do, go on and get your FIN number. If you don't go on and get your FIN number right now, I'm going to share my screen. We got one more slide here that I want to talk to you about, because our people, everybody who ever invited you, is on this call, and they're very capable of being able to get you what you need to really end up being financially independent. So thank you for attending, and we can help you. If you need help with anything that we've covered tonight, or if you've got any question, be sure and reach out to the person that invited you. There will be a link or an email available to you, and you can reach out to them and say, hey, tell me more. Give me help with my FIN number. Your FIN number is very personal. It's yours and yours alone, and we're anxious to help. And we've got literally thousands of agents across the country that will help you, but reach out to the one that sent you this invitation. You have a friend or family member. Maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's about your children. Are you educating the next generation? That's all the kind of stuff that we want to encourage you to do. Reach out to the neighbor, send them a link, send the link you got for this, get them on the call. You know what? This is the most incredible happening that's ever going to happen. And we're looking forward to talking to you in a few minutes. Thanks for joining. Have an unbelievable evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye for now.